Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for tuning in and thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed yet, please encourage us by doing so that we can bring you the latest news as it happens and we can all work together with our great leader Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, IPOB and Eastern Security Network to make our Biafran dream a reality and at the same time expose the terrorist activities of the Nigerian government to the whole world. My brothers and my sisters, there is tension in C0up. The Nigerian government is about to be overthrown, but the Nigerian military high command is claiming that the news of a plan to overthrow the presidency by some soldiers who are not happy about this surging of insecurity and the inability of the Nigerian government to crush IPOB and Eastern Security Network operatives are untrue. According to the Acting Director of Defense Information, Brigadier General Ojem Manwachukwu, he said that the statement credited to one Robert Clark, son, suggesting that the current political leadership should hand over power to the military for the purpose of restructuring, has been brought to the attention of the Nigerian Military High Command. So he's dissociating the Military High Command from this overthrow speculation. But we know that in every speculation, there's always an element of truth in it. The Fulani-controlled armed forces of Nigeria is already in disarray because of their nepotic appointment, recruitment, and promotions. Majority of the non-Fulani soldiers have been retired while others are stagnated to make way for the Fulani's complete takeover of the Nigerian armed forces. This is causing a lot of tension both at C0up and in defense headquarters. Some of the non-Fulani soldiers who think that Nigeria is slipping out of their hand are secretly planning to remove the current presidency and pacify the aggrieved tribes to jettison their plan to break out of Nigeria. They know that the waitings are right now, that Nigeria is gone and is gone forever. And they don't want to suffer the consequences of Fulani greed and incompetencies. The Nigerian armed forces have never been this divided since the independence of the Zoological Republic of Nigeria. The defense headquarters statement was done to dose tension and help the Fulani presidency, who have been bribing top generals to buy their cooperation and support. All of the Fulani generals holding top offices in the armed forces that are due for mandatory retirement had their service extended multiple times, whereas their non-Fulani counterparts or colleagues were retired as soon as they reached the retirement threshold. Some are even retired before they meet their retirement threshold, just to make way for Fulanis to rise. Also, in terms of promotions, the Fulani soldiers are promoted faster than the non-Fulani soldiers. Only those who are ready to be Fulani slaves are promoted, and they are used to quell any uprising amongst their tribesmen. What about appointments? The Fulani military are given juicy appointments where they loot money meant to pay for the frontline men fighting the insurgent war. They loot their money. They owe them salaries. They owe them allowances. They loot the money that were meant for the procurement of arms and weapons, leaving the frontline soldiers with obsolete equipment to fight, which sometimes breaks down in the middle of the fight. and exposes them to great dangers. The Nigerian Armed Forces, which used to be prestigious and respected institutions, have now become a place where tribal and religious affinities strive. There is great division amongst men and women of the forces who formerly are like one family. They weren't divided by tribes or religion before 2015. There is no more professionalism in the armed forces because they are now used for protecting and supporting the terrorist Fulani herdsmen and bandits. They have reduced them to that. The armed forces are no longer obeying rule of law because the Fulani presidency does not obey rule of law and they tell them not to. And they do not respect human rights. The armed forces are now used for massacring or to massacre the very citizens that they are supposed to be protecting. For example, they were used to massacre thousands of harmless and peaceful Biafrans, Shia Muslims, IPOBs, and NSAS protesters. Because the Fulani Nigerian government consider these groups as enemies of the government, whereas they were only fighting peacefully without arms or weapons for their freedom and human rights to be respected. That is the offense they committed. Whereas the terrorist Fulani headers and bandits, Boko Haram and ISWAP, who are killing and kidnapping and maiming and massacring innocent citizens, are considered friends and partners of the Nigerian government, according to the de facto president, Garba Shehu, who is the de facto president of Fulani Nigerian Presidency Cabal. He said that the terrorist Meyeti Allah is a stakeholder in Nigerian government and must be respected like other socio-cultural groups like Arewa Elders Forum, Ohaneze Ndị Igbo, Pandef, Afenifere, Middle Belt Forum, etc. Also, his de facto vice president, Femi Adesina, told the terrorized Nigerians who are terrorized by Fulani terrorists to give up their ancestral land to the terrorist Fulani herdsmen, killing and raping their women and their daughters, asking them to give, if they value their life, they should give up their land to these terrorists. That is how wicked the Nigerian president, the Nigerian government have gotten to. That is how wicked they are. The job of the Nigerian armed forces is to defend Nigerians and Nigerian territories and protect her citizens, and not to be used as terrorists as they are currently being used by the Nigerian government. Even if they haven't won a war before, they shouldn't allow themselves to be turned into a ragtag Janjaweed military by the Fulani Nigerian government. That is how low they have gotten to. It is rather too late now to save Nigeria from breaking up, because the crack created by the Fulani bad governance and marginalization is now irreparable. It's irreparable. What the Nigerian armed forces needs to focus on now is how to repair their badly tarnished image. Also, they need to learn to say no when asked by the Fulani Nigerian government to do evil against the people that they are supposed to be protected, that they need to protect. They need to say no. Learn to say no. You have the right to say no. The Nigerian Armed Forces is supposed to be a role model and a mentor to the Nigerian youths, and not a tyrant as they are currently are. The love and the trust that they once had from Nigerian people is long gone. They are now peddlers of lies and deceit, which was alien to them and to their institution. They are being killed everywhere in the north by the terrorists, Fulani bandits, and Boko Haram and ISWIP, and the Nigerian government is not doing anything about it. Nothing. Rather, they call the terrorists repentant and, integrate them into the Nigerian armed forces. And these are the same terrorists who give information to their fellow terrorists, because a leopard can never change his skin. Their so-called military bases are being overrun and burnt to the ground by these ragtag terrorists. This keeps me wondering if the Nigerian armed forces are the same as the armed forces that kept Bakassi Peninsula from being taken over by the Cameroonian gendarmes during the reign of Abacha, before Obasanjo traded it for UN Secretary General position, which he never got. This is the story of how the mighty has fallen. The current Nigerian government has no respect for the armed forces. That is why they use them to protect cows. When they are killed in battles, they secretly bury them and lie to their families. Their old salaries and allowances for months. They live in filthy barracks. They are not cared for. And when they retire, their pensions are not paid on time or not even paid. And some of them die waiting for their pension. Our advice to the Nigerian armed forces is that they should forget Biafra, because Biafra has been liberated. Biafra is free. It's gone. You can't bring Biafra back. And the armed forces should not allow themselves to be used by the Fulani Janjaweed to keep their oil wells in Biafra land. He that had an ear, or he that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit is saying. Thank you for watching my video. Please watch out for the next, and bye-bye for now.